financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Pat Simasko from Simasko Law, elder law expert, Jenny Lingle, tax expert from Thav Gross, Brian Small, financial crisis expert from Thav Gross,
Pleasure
and yours truly, Ken Gross. Today's topic, debt issues at the last stage of life. This is a real problem that we see people facing all the time, and they're never prepared for it because they never think about it. It adds stress to the situation, and it comes in many forms. I can explain it to you now differently than I could have a year ago, or even 2 years ago, but I've gone through the process of an elderly parent and I've dealt with the issues of taking his car away, dealing with the car, dealing with the credit card debt, dealing with Medicaid, dealing with the nursing home, dealing with passing away, all of those issues, because I just recently lost my dad. It's different when you are the client and it's your life than when it's the lawyer. What I've gained through this process is and Pat, you have as well, I know, I've gained the perspective of what the family is going through and the stress and the anxiety.
You have to be able to sit in their chair for a while and really understand what it's like.
And it really turns the table around and also causes you to be, I think, much more compassionate about how to address the problem.
My father-in-law had Alzheimer's at 54, and my dad had a stroke at 61, and I had to go through it right out of law school. So that's changed my whole career for that.
That's tough stuff. So here's what we're going to do. I've identified 6 situations from the first-hand experience that I've gone through, and I want to share those with you and ask you guys as the group, what's the solution? Here's number 1. Dad and mom are still active and living, but they're buried with credit card debt. They got $30,000 of credit card debt. They're making monthly payments of $750 a month. Social Security income for dad and mom is $2,500 a month. So $750 a month on their payment is usurping 30% of their disposable income. They are hemorrhaging in debt, and they don't have enough money to live on. So, group, what's their solution?
You got 2 possible solutions there. And the most logical one, though, is a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Eliminate the debt. The income goes to pay all of their household expenses and keep them going. And it's enough to keep the roof over their head, food on the table, maybe even make a car payment if necessary. Eliminate the debt. Walk away.
So they save the $750 a month is what happens.
They save the $750 a month and they go on with their lives debt-free, stress-free.
I got one more solution, and it's the absolute perfect. So all the money that the parents loan their kids over the years, they should go get all that money back from their kids.
I like
but
that.
They still shouldn't pay the credit cards.
Right.
First of all, what's the chances of that happening?
Let me tell you why I like that one. The reason why I like that one is because my mom and dad are both gone, but I do have children.
Yes,
right.
They
Well,
should.
and I think we need to stress why not debt resolution is Chapter 7 is the quickest, easiest in this scenario. And also in this scenario, they are probably insolvent. But if they weren't, say they had an IRA or a 401k, they could still qualify for a Chapter 7. But if they did debt resolution, they may be taxed on those funds.
And they don't have the funds to pay the debt resolution.
The only other solution, which is hard for those individuals at this stage in their life, is just to not pay. And because Social Security income, which is their only source of income, isn't garnishable. But that old school mentality, which we're not going to go into greatly here, sticks with people, and if you can just wipe it out, you're better off.
Yeah, I can share
There's
with
no,
you
there's
that.
no stress associated.
I
with
stopped paying my father's credit card bills, and I had Ford Credit repossess his car, which we'll talk about in a second. And he never did get sued by anybody. They wiped out the debt, and he didn't have to file bankruptcy. But what I always knew is, if any creditor hassled him, I was just going to throw him into a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. He had a buffer though. Yeah. When the credit card companies called, I sent them a letter that I'm representing them, and I made it very clear to them, feel free to do whatever you want. You want to sue him, send me the papers. You want to call, you call me. You don't call him. And the fun part with them was I talked to one collection guy, and he says, well, make me an offer. And I said to him, did you ever see The Godfather? My offer is nothing. And I offered them nothing, and they received nothing. But more often than not, the stress factor,
the hundreds of calls that they get from
and
these
to
companies.
get rid of that stress factor, you file a quick Chapter 7 bankruptcy. It's done and over with in 3 months.
Yeah.
It's basically you come in the office once, we do the paperwork, you come back, we sign it, and then we go for one meeting of creditors. The whole process is done. It's that simple.
Correct.
Well, and also, and maybe in your father's situation, again, going back to the tax issue, he would have been insolvent, so it wouldn't have been taxable. I do know that Chapter 7 is still the best, as opposed to just not paying.
Because you can have tax consequences.
Because sometimes they say, you know what, we're just going to write it off and not sue them, and then all of a sudden you've created a taxable situation that you could have prevented
That's a
with
good point.
filing the
Because
Chapter
canceled
7.
debt, unless you fit with an exception, is taxable. Okay, 1 minute before the break. Dad was driving up until last month. His car payment's $325 a month. His insurance is $275 a month. He can no longer drive. The family's calling us up saying, should we keep paying for Dad's car payment and the insurance?
Absolutely not.
What are they going to do with the car?
Send the car back to the bank.
But what if son guaranteed the loan?
That's a different story. Now you have two people obligated on a car. So now if son guaranteed the loan, now son is going to have to go drive his own car because he's also on the title.
Never guarantee a car loan for your parent. They are going to sell him a car. That's how the auto industry makes money. They'll sell him a car. They'll give him the credit. Do not guarantee it. Then if you have to send the car back, you send the car back.
Don't guarantee the car for your kids either, because they're
Don't
stuck.
guarantee anything.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, let me give you an epilogue to the car story. My dad drove fine until 6 months before he passed away, and all of a sudden I got a call. He was in Algonac, and he was thinking that he told the police officer he was in West Bloomfield. I drove out to Algonac at midnight on a Sunday night. The police were very nice. I asked them, I said, can you do me a favor? Can I leave the car in the parking lot? Ford Credit will be picking it up within a reasonable period of time. They said, no problem. I drove Dad home, told him he's done driving because the police won't let him drive anymore, which is a whole different conversation. And then I called Ford Credit, and after a couple conversations, and they were very cooperative, made arrangements, and they went out directly there and picked up the car. Now, they sold it at auction, and there was a shortfall, and then they called me up because I'm getting my dad's mail, and the contact person said, will you be paying the $3,000? And I said, no. And they said, would you be willing to pay $1,200? And I said, no. And they said, well, you do realize that we'll have to turn this over to collection. And I said, that's fine. Now, in my case, I never heard back from Ford Credit again, and my dad passed away. But if I did, that's just another example of if it got to be too much of a problem, and my dad was around, I'd throw him into a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. But it seemed as though he never knew anything of what was happening. As long as I wasn't giving them the money, and I wasn't, bankrupting him to do it, it wasn't a problem. Had I guaranteed that loan, I would have been writing a check for the $3,000 shortfall. That would have been a big mistake.
I want to bring that up too, because everyone, if you're not going to be paying the debt while you're alive, you still have to be worried about it if you pass away. And if you have a will or if you have a typical trust agreement, those documents say when you pass away, pay off your creditors first, and then whatever's left over goes to the kids. So you want to make sure that if you have these big debt out there, you modify those estate plans to make sure that they don't get it after you pass away.
That's the classic old school versus new school.
Yeah.
Old school, all the trust documents and wills written from the form books always have this standard language, pay all my just debts as they that were due at the time of my death. New school says, don't mention it. Because if you don't mention it, then you don't have to pay it. Then the only obligation to pay is you do a publication of notice, and the creditor has to assert the claim within the time required by law, and if they don't, there is no obligation to pay. You can go ahead and distribute the estate. So it's a different attitude towards the money. It goes back to what we've talked about before, and I gave Brian limited license, but you have to look out for yourself and your family. It's not about looking out for the creditors. They don't care about you. You don't have to care about them. All right, number 3, dad or mom need additional care beyond their apartment. This is something, if your mom and dad live long enough, they're not going to be able to continue to live independently. First step is they're doing okay, but you want them so that they're not walking up and down stairs, because stairs are death to elderly people, believe me, trust me. And next comes independent living, where they can get dinner and dinner cooked for them 5 days a week, activities and fun things to do. That's step 1. There's no insurance that covers that at all. But then step 2 becomes assisted living. Assisted living is very expensive, and it increases in cost depending upon the level of additional assist that you need. And ultimately, you get to the point where you have the nursing home issue, where you have extensive needs in care to be given. If you have long-term care insurance, that's good, but it's costly. If you have mega bucks, that's good, because then you can pay for it. But if you have limited income, limited assets, what do you do?
That's one thing. First, when families, they feel so guilty that dad has to leave the house and now they're putting him in a facility, they look and they put him in the Taj Mahal, which may be double or triple what a nice other independent living facility. Well, you can run out of money at an assisted living too. So the idea is the best care for the best price, so you can drag out the money as long as possible. And if you start spending it on credit cards and all these other issues, you will be
You got to
broke
hold on to
earlier.
your funds so you've got the money. For
You got one option at that point, because Medicaid does not pay for any assisted living. A VA maybe a little bit of help. You're living in someone's basement at that point.
I went through the process of investigating the assisted living with my father to move him in there. And what I discovered quickly in the process was it starts out at a base rate, but then if you need additional care, it jumps up rapidly. And while I was in that process, he was declining. So all of a sudden I thought it was going to cost me X per month. And then right when I was on the verge of moving him, I realized it was going to be somewhere between Y, Z, and triple X. And so I held off on the process, and as it turned out, my dad passed away. But you've got to be very cautious with your budget when it comes to assisted
because
living.
if you weren't paying to help supplement, there isn't any other benefit to pay. It's home or some kid living in your house or one of the kids' house, because there is no benefit that'll pay for that in-between stuff.
So, Pat, we're coming up to a break, but there is no clear divide line between assisted living and the nursing home, because it's at a certain point in time, when do you qualify for nursing home care and trying to get the benefit of Medicaid, which you can get in a nursing home, but you can't get in assisted living?
Great question. In the good old days, you could just go into a nursing home and Medicaid would pay. Now you have to be medically qualified, which means you have to walk through the doors. You have to need assistance with the activities of daily living, dementia, incontinent care, need help transferring between bed. So if your dad was super healthy but didn't have any money, he would not qualify for a nursing home.
So now you have to need at least assistance with two activities, which is the same thing for a VA aid and attendance benefit, which is, that's a whole nother topic. But when we come back from the break, I want you to kind of explain this. If you're a wartime vet, there is a program that allows money to you for aid and attendance outside of the nursing home. We'll be right back.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
A lifetime of hard work. If you're approaching retirement and don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your investments, and your savings. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Putting a solid strategy in place with Samasco Law legally protects your assets as well as your wishes. Since a will doesn't cover you medically or financially, Samasco Law goes beyond ordinary asset management protection to safeguard everything you have.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
It's devastating. The effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. Let's do announcements, then we'll come back to our 6 points of you guys solving the problem. Tuesdays, listen to us noon to 1, 6 to 7 p.m. Law and Reality Live on WCHB 1200 a.m. Thursdays, 3 to 4, Law and Reality Now with Cliff Russell on 9:10 a.m. We've got 2 seminars coming up. On Wednesday, August 24th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m., I'm not going down with the ship, time to ditch the debt. This is a seminar focusing on all the ways and strategies we employ to preserve future income. Bankruptcy sometimes, bankruptcy not sometimes. There's solutions outside of bankruptcy. How to deal with tax debt. All of those issues, we cover it in a very good, comprehensive way. Seminars are all free. Attendees on this seminar get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. You can sign up at thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, or call 888-235-HELP. That's Wednesday, August 24th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. Seminars fill up fast, so you should sign up as soon as possible. You can, and if I didn't give the number, you can call 888-235-HELP. The next seminar is Wednesday, August 31st, featuring Pat's going to walk us through, and the title is Medicaid for Dad. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Help. Which is exactly what you encounter every single day, because no one knows what to do until they find someone like Pat who knows exactly what to do. Pat's going to walk through the Medicaid process, how you save your assets so that you have money for one spouse when the other spouse is in the nursing home, and so that you don't, when it's only one parent left, so that all of that money doesn't go to the nursing home. Something's left for the children, so that you can pass something on with all the hard work that you've done during your life. I'm going to talk about basic estate planning. Brian's going to talk about debt issues. This seminar is designed for anyone between 40 and 100. If you're 40 to 60, you have estate planning to do for yourself, but you also have a responsibility of figuring out how to help mom and dad, because now it's reversed. You become the primary responsible person to making sure they're taken care of. They took care of you. It's payback time. Sign up, lawandreality.com, thavgross.com, call 888-235-HELP. That's Wednesday, August 31st, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Go to our websites for free reports. I want to thank our sponsors, Samasco Law and Thav Gross.
And don't forget, in the event that you cannot make the seminars, you are more than welcome to call us and schedule a free consultation at any time regarding any of these issues. We'll be happy to sit down with you and explore your options.
Brian works weekends, midnights. He'll come in anytime and talk to you.
Brian's favorite time is between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. and between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m.
Yeah, on Sundays.
Seems as though you made that off.
Yeah.
The rest of us will facilitate scheduling the meeting with Brian.
Right.
All right, back to mom and dad. All right, so they're going through this process. How does aid and attendance work in terms of for a vet? What is that benefit?
Well, first thing, and what you said is so smart with the kids. Every kid comes in and says, well, my dad has talked to a lawyer 37 years ago and he signed papers up then. He's all set. He's fine. He's not. That's old school. New school, if you have your stuff set up properly, if dad's a wartime veteran or mom is a surviving spouse of the wartime veteran, they can get an extra benefit from the VA to help pay for in-home care or assisted living care. It's called aid and attendance care. VA benefit, you have to be wartime, World War II, Korea, or the Vietnam conflict. And if you're spending your income on your care, the VA will pay up to $2,100 a month for the married couple, $1,800 a month about for a surviving veteran, or $1,150 a month for the surviving spouse.
So the important message here is if you're a wartime vet and you've never heard of this benefit, call Pat call us so you can explore it. It's available, and so many vets do not know about it.
It's
My
awesome.
dad's qualified for it. We went through the process. I never heard of it until 4 years ago when I met you.
That's
And he
awesome.
never heard of it.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
he's the vet.
You
They
won't
don't
get
tell
the
you.
call from the VA.
They
Hey,
don't
did
tell
you
you.
apply?
That annoys me to.
Well, the biggest thing
unlimited
is
degree.
too, because if they talk to the VA, they say, well, you can't get it because you have too much or you make too much, which is really wrong. If you have the planning set up, you can get the benefit.
Because there's no look back rule.
There's no look back period now.
Speaking of which, let's talk quickly on Medicaid. Medicaid is for the nursing home. We all hear about this 5-year look back rule, but how does Medicaid planning work if your assisted living is not an option?
Right.
Either A, you can't afford it, or B, you need a greater level of care.
Yeah, well, one thing, but we're not throwing Dad in the nursing home. What it is, Dad can't stay home anymore. He just can't do it. The kids try everything in their power to keep him at home, assisted living, they coming over and cooking for him, and now he just can't do it anymore. For a married couple, we can protect the assets all the time. We don't need a 5-year look back to do it, and it's called the Spousal Impoverishment Act. They don't want to put mom out on the street living in a cardboard box. So the plan is that we can protect the money for the at-home spouse. Crisis planning for a single person, we can always protect the house and usually between 50 and 60% of their assets if they're in the nursing home in a crisis plan. So those are the plans that we implement.
So there's good solutions in that situation, but you need to avail yourself of the knowledge. Otherwise, you end up wiping out and losing all of your assets. That's what people need to know. Trust me, you cannot do this yourself. It is impossible. Even if you know a little, you do not know enough.
Right. The nursing home always says, well, we can file the Medicaid app for you. It's like going to the IRS agent and having them do your tax return.
Speaking of that, let's go right to IRS, okay? For I think it'll be the last question. Cash in Dad's IRA. He had to cash in Dad's IRA to gain access to the cash to pay for his care. That triggered a big tax bill, but now the cash is gone. Suppose there's these old lingering tax bills. So you've got this big tax obligation. Dad incurred it. Dad and Mom are still alive. What strategy can we employ to protect the assets?
Well, a lot of
the
times
family?
what we'll look at is what happens if they file married filing separate versus married filing joint. And based on that, if we file married filing separate and just Dad owes the funds, based on what his situation appears to be in these examples, he may qualify for an offer in compromise. So it may not be an issue. However, what we want to make sure is that we do consider filing married filing separate so we don't put both spouses on the hook.
So we need to look at it, because one strategy is we file married filings separate. Dad eventually passes away. There's no assets in Dad's name at that point. IRS gets nothing.
Really?
Nothing's a good number.
But you got to be careful. You got to do the tax planning before you file the tax return, because if you file married filing jointly, you can't undo it and file married filing separately.
You need to plan. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.